Overall, they're happy enough. They're happy with where the tuning has landed after the recent changes, and now the people have got better gear than they did in week 1. And I think, at least from my experience, that's very much the case. The obvious outlier, yes, was Lower Karazhan. I actually haven't went into it after the most recent wave of nerfs, which, I mean...
Intangible Presence is gone.
Yeah.
Like, how bad is this player base that Intangible Presence had to go? To be fair, I understand at very high keystone levels that it was probably like the actual reaction time to get the right one was a little bit high for the amount of damage that came in, and Nerf would have solved that problem as opposed to having to remove it. And also, I imagine that you were going to say something about the fact that everyone just got a fucking weak aura.
Yeah, so there's getting a weak aura, and the other thing is perhaps they could have made it like a bit more visible, or, you know, they could have done something like that. Like, you know, like they did with a few of the mechanics.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, maybe I'm just, you know, old fashioned. I'm like, it was fine whenever I did it. I went in, like, there it is. There, Michael, dispel that one. Done easy. But then, you know.
Well, I think for Blizzard, like, it's the final boss.
Yeah.
It's the final boss of a long dungeon.
Yeah.
You might be hyper aware that it turning...
Theoretically, the final.
True. It is theoretically the final boss of a long dungeon, so maybe they are just kind of keenly thinking that, you know, maybe a player's like, their 40 minutes is down. It's a real hell.
Well, if that's the case, if poor players are too tired to look for mechanics, then why should Mythic Plus be 40 minutes? That's an awful long time. What if you get sleepy? What if you need a nap or a break? Sure, you know what? just give loot for free. Just go in, fight the boss.
Yeah,
it's over.
Or
very good, very good.
We could live in reality and think about how an actual dungeon just makes someone feel.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people prefer the 3 boss dungeons because they're quick and they're snappy. And you could say that...
Well, that's because it's a reward loop. And,
but
you know.
You could say that, or maybe you could say that it minimizes the less enjoyable forms of punishment that Mythic Plus inherently has.
Yeah, such as getting launched back to the very fucking start of Kara. Thanks. No checkpoints? No, well, I suppose it's hard to put checkpoints because of shortcut stuff. But I'm still like, come on, please. Don't be like that. The fucking run is brutal.
Yeah, the Karazhan run is really brutal. Yeah. Interesting that they flat removed that mechanic. I think they removed a few ushers as well, and then Wicket and...
removed a few ushers?
I think so, yeah.
I know they nerfed them and nerfed the flashlight damage, but removing ushers?
And flashlight damage?
Man, but this is the part that I find really annoying. So I imagine it was causing too much friction because of the way the usher patrolled and like the amount of them and how quickly it could stack up for damage, where it's like, this is just hard if you accidentally pull too many ushers or something. But it's like, is that not like just pull properly?
That's true. But if you could say that the percentage chance of just pull properly is radically different in 2 different dungeons that exist in the same system, then, because there's different forms of tuning. Like, one form of tuning is the raw combat numbers, another form of tuning is mob placement, and like that form of inherent difficulty. So I imagine they probably wanted to make that a little bit easier too, which in one sense you could get mad over that. But also, that's just, I think, on a keystone level to keystone level basis, making it equal with everything else.
Yeah, see, no, the difference is I played that in Legion when the game was good, so I liked it. That is, unironically, the subconscious process running in my head. I'm fully aware of that, by the way.
But that's not really helpful.
No, it's not. It's not helpful, but it's emotionally relevant to me and everyone else who played in Legion and liked it more than.
It's like,
stop ruining my dungeons!
It is, but does that not, kind of like, is that not like a low objectivity maneuver that will mislead people in the audience a bit?
Theoretically,
right? Like, is that going too shock to be reasonable?
Theoretically, hence why I'm highlighting it very intentionally and not just letting it go unspoken. But also, I do think that it is the kind of blanket nerfs do kind of. I feel a little bit in the same way I felt like kind of like, why are you just nerfing the shit out of this when it comes to like the mythic raid stuff? I'm just like, I don't know. There's something in me when they just nerf things brutally, and I just kind of go, I don't know if I like that as an idea versus get good. But then, you know, I am toxic, so.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think there is a problem. It all comes down to pragmatism. And it's like if you're purely thinking about yourself and your own subjective experience, but that's completely divorced from, hard numbers.
That's
Blizzard almost certainly looks at this, sees lower Kara, sees, okay, the clear rate is significantly lower on a key per key basis, meaning that it objectively has not met our tuning requirement. Therefore, we need to tune it so that these things are more in line with other dungeons.
Yeah.
It's like from the designer's point of view.
Yeah. And
it's very sensible.
And obviously, I have problems with designing purely by numbers and expected results as opposed to something different or, a more... I guess a less numerically driven goal because, what gets measured gets managed, and then you have a kind of flattening blanket effect of, hey, we have to have everything be perfectly balanced the same way. It kind of loses some texture there. But that's a different concern.
Do you not have a problem where that could be okay if these were totally separate pieces of content, but they're not?
Yeah.
They all exist within the same system with the same reward loop.
Yeah,
therefore,
and that's,
player expectation.
Yeah, that's where you get the Maw Souls problem, where it's like, well, we can't have one dungeon shorter than the others because then people will just spam run that, because that's how for Valor and etc. That's how that works. So that's like an inherent limitation of the M+ system, obviously because it's all kind of homogenized under the one system.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like overall, I agree with the lower Kara nerfs. I think they were obviously pragmatic.
Yeah, sure were. Sure were.